America's beverage companies are investing in America. We're American companies, making American products with American workers in America's hometowns. We're local bottlers and manufacturers, operating in all 50 states, employing more than 275,000 Americans in good-paying jobs, delivering for the nation, because we believe in the promise of America and the people who make it great. Learn more at wedeliverforamerica.org. Paid for by the American Beverage Association.
Your burger is served, and this is our finest Pepsi Zero Sugar. Its sweet profile perfectly balances the savory notes of your burger.
That is one perfect combination. Burgers deserve Pepsi.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injury is an additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
EVO. This series contains adult language and depictions of graphic violence. Listener discretion is advised. Before the French Revolution, before the Eiffel Tower pierced the skyline, before Napoleon left his boot print on Europe, there was a predator loose in the very heart of France. It stalked the limestone ridges and hidden gorges of Gévaudan, a wild and wooded region in south-central France. Between 1764 and 1767, the people there lived in fear. Not of bandits, not of war, but of something unseen, something savage. Over 100 men, women, and children were mauled, decapitated, or simply disappeared. They blamed a wolf. But no wolf ever killed like this. No wolf ever returned to the same village, to the same field, as if it had a vendetta. And no wolf has ever been unable to be killed. Welcome back to The Devil Within. You're listening to European Vacation, The Beasts of France, Part 1. June 30th, 1764. The small village of Langon. A 14-year-old girl named Jean Boulet sets out to tend her family's sheep. It's a job she's done dozens of times. The hills are green, the sun is high, nothing seems out of place. But then, she doesn't come home. By dusk, her absence turns to dread. A search party is sent out, combing the slopes and gullies. They find her body, or what remains of it, near the edge of a wooded trail. Her neck is crushed, her flesh torn as though by claws, her clothing shredded. There are no bite marks consistent with wolves, no animal signs, but the savagery, raw, intimate, deliberate, seems unmistakably unnatural. And the whispers begin. A beast, a thing. By autumn, Gévaudan is bleeding. A young boy tending cattle is found in pieces. A woman carrying water is dragged off a trail, her throat ripped open. An old man is found in his barn, half consumed. Over and over again, in villages too small to name, the story repeats. The bodies share patterns, mutilation, dismemberment, and an eerie absence of fear in the animal that caused them. It doesn't flee gunfire. It doesn't shy away from torchlight. Witnesses begin to describe it. A creature as large as a calf, covered in reddish fur, a tail like a lion, eyes that glow in the dark. And then something more chilling. It watches. Before it attacks, like it's choosing. Church bells ring in panic. Priests begin to preach of divine punishment, and the locals ask, is this the wrath of God? Or something even older? Soon, word reaches Versailles. King Louis XV dispatches his royal gun-bearers, Jean-Charles d'Avenal and his son. They arrive with bloodhounds, firearms, and the full authority of the crown. They kill wolves, dozens, skin them, mount their heads on pikes in the town square. But the killings continue. The peasants begin to murmur. These aren't the right wolves. It's something else that's stalking them. In February of 1765, a new legend is born. A group of children, 10 in all, are ambushed while tending sheep. 10-year-old Jacques Portefeuille rallies them. They fight back with sticks and rocks, driving the beast off. And Jacques survives. The king rewards him with an education, and newspapers across the country carry the tale. But still, the blood keeps flowing. And the reports get even stranger. A survivor claims the creature walked on 2 legs before dropping to all 4s. A hunter fires a musket ball into its chest. It stumbles and then rises. A shepherd strikes it with an axe, and the blade bounces off its hide. One woman claims it wore something like armor, matted fur so thick it deflected steel. A soldier watches it leap a ravine 30 feet across. No wolf can do this. So theories multiply, and naturalists begin to whisper about mutations, or maybe a hyena escaped from a private menagerie. Local priests call it a demon, but the villagers say something even older. Loup-garou, a werewolf. It's said quietly at first, then louder. The word spreads through the mountain winds. Superstition becomes gospel. June 19th, 1767. A local farmer and part-time hunter named Jean Chastel climbs Mount Mouchet with a long-barreled musket. He claims to have prepared special bullets, cast from melted silver coins and blessed by a priest. At the summit, he encounters a massive creature, raises the gun, fires once, and the beast collapses. The body is unlike anything seen before, muscular but deformed. Its head elongated, its paws strangely human. They bury it in secret, no drawings, no autopsy, no relics kept, and the attacks finally stop. But some say Chastel didn't kill the beast. Instead, he bargained with it. That he was part of something older, a pact, a blood deal. The final death toll varies. Some say 113 dead, others say over 300. The true count is impossible to know, and all that remains is the myth. The Beast of Gévaudan becomes more than a cryptid. It's a parable of a kingdom that couldn't protect its people, of nature's wild heart resisting the crown, of wolves in more than just the forest. Artists render it, writers romanticize it, cryptozoologists chase it, and some believe it still walks among us. Even today, in the misty hills of Lozère, shepherds say you can hear it. A howl, not like any wolf. It's something else. Something remembering. The Jura Mountains are old. They stand at the eastern edge of France, bordering Switzerland, forested, remote, and wrapped in mist. Carved by glaciers and blanketed in centuries of folklore, the Jura are more than just mountains. They're memory, a place where time folds in on itself, and the line between man and monster begins to blur. For centuries, the locals spoke in hushed tones about dark things in the trees. Not ghosts, not even beasts, but werewolves. And in 1573, the town of Dole dared to put one on trial. It began, as these things often do, with children. 2 vanished near a farmstead outside Amange. One from the cloistered garden of a monastery, and another found days later a few miles from the edge of the forest. Or, again, what remained of him. His legs were stripped of flesh and gnawed to the bone. His ribcage was hollowed, as if carved out. His throat crushed. Not like prey killed by wolves, but like something testing its own grip. The villagers buried what they could, but in the grief, there was panic. Wolves were blamed, hunts were organized, and bloodhounds were released. But then came the sighting. A woman returning from market glimpsed it. Just a figure at the forest's edge, crouched low, feeding on something. It looked like a man, but it was covered in fur. It had elongated limbs. It was crawling. It was also watching her. It was too large, too wrong. In the weeks that followed, the whispers again began to take shape. Not just a creature, but a culprit. A man named Gilles Garnier, a recluse. He lived alone in a crumbling stone hovel deep in the woods, known to be a beggar in town. Recently married, though no one remembered attending a wedding. His wife, Marguerite, never spoke. Children claimed to have seen him dragging something through the brush. One boy said he saw him behind the woodshed, blood on his chin. Another insisted he saw Garnier change from a man into something else, something wolfish. The villagers didn't need more, because they had their fear, and they had missing children, and now they had a name.
Meta AI is the personal AI to help you with whatever you need. Plus, it meets you where you are. Not only is Meta AI now an app, but it's also on the apps you already know and love: Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger. Plus the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. It's easy to access wherever you are. So whether you're talking or texting, Meta AI is convenient to use throughout your day. Experience our newest AI that's tailored to you by downloading the Meta AI app. Try the Meta AI app today on the Apple App Store and Google Play.
Hey, let's talk about your expense report.
I didn't submit an expense report.
You will. Custom saddles and dog training services are not within policy.
What are you talking about?
SAP Concur uses advanced AI to audit and automatically detect out-of-policy expenses. It's the breakthrough I needed to focus more on our future.
These are my future expenses?
Yes, and self-defense classes are out of policy.
I'll need self-defense classes?
You will.
For what?
It's a big dog.
SAP Concur helps your business move forward faster. Learn more at concur.com.
Shopping is hard, right? But I found a better way. Stitch Fix online personal styling makes it easy. I just give my stylist my size, style, and budget preferences. I order boxes when I want and how I want. No subscription required. And he sends just for me pieces, plus outfit recommendations and styling tips. I keep what works and send back the rest. It's so easy. Make style easy. Get started today at stitchfix.com/Spotify. That's stitchfix.com/Spotify.
Choice Hotels gets you more for your money so you can maximize any road trip. Like these road trippers making waffles and eating fresh fruit in their natural habitat. The breakfast area at a Comfort Inn. I just love seeing a vacation maximized in the wild. Check into more. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
They took him in November of 1573. Garnier was thin, hollow-eyed, and strangely calm. He didn't fight, and he didn't ask why. The charges were read aloud in the town square: murder, cannibalism, and lycanthropy. The trial was held in Franche-Comté. The records, remarkably, survive. They state plainly: he confessed to hunting as a wolf. He confessed to the killing of 4 children. He confessed to devouring their flesh. How? Why? According to Garnier, he'd been approached by a figure in the woods, a shadow with no face, clothed in fog, and had offered him an ointment, a salve that would allow him to transform, to become what he needed to be to feed himself and his wife. And he accepted. He said the first kill was difficult, the second, less so, and by the fourth, he no longer felt like a man. The court summoned over 50 witnesses. They told stories not of a starving man, but of a predator, a wolf that stood upright. a man who moved on all fours, a creature seen sniffing the air like a hound. Children described yellow eyes, pointed teeth, and claws that dragged furrows through the mud. Under torture, Garnier gave more. He described the transformations in detail. Bones cracking, joints shifting, a roar behind the eyes. He drew a picture of the spirit who gave him the ointment. The image matched contemporary illustrations of Satan. Was it madness? Or did Garnier believe every word? The town had its answer. On January 18th, 1574, Gilles Garnier was burned alive in the town square of Dole. The flames were fed with pine and resin. The crowd gathered in silence. No last words were recorded. His ashes were scattered. His name was not spoken again in public. But the fear remained. In the decades that followed, more accusations emerged. In nearby Poligny, another man was tried and executed. Then a woman. Then 2 boys. Some confessed to witchcraft. Others claimed lycanthropy. A few described ointments just like Garnier's. It was called the werewolf epidemic of eastern France. And it left a scar, not just in the minds of the faithful, but in the bloodlines of the region. To this day, the people of Jura carry an unease, a sense that some shadows are more than tricks of the light. If you go there today, the Jura Mountains are a haven for hikers, birdwatchers, and climbers. But some paths feel colder than others. Locals whisper about claw marks found high in the bark of pine trees, about livestock found mutilated but not consumed, about howls that don't match any known species, howls that sound eerily human. In the village of Dole, there's a cellar wall where an old painting once hung, a painting said to show Garnier mid-transformation. It was removed during the First World War, and no one will say where it went. Tourists come for the mountains, but the old families remember the stories. They say the curse was never really about wolves. It was about what desperation can turn a man into, about the way hunger shapes morality, about the beast that doesn't need fur or fangs to live within us. Because the wolf, they say, never dies. It only changes form. Have you ever walked the Jura and felt the air shift, seen eyes that didn't blink, heard the name Garnier whispered in your sleep? Email us at info@evocreative.com and follow The Devil Within Pod for reels, behind-the-scenes content, and lore maps. Rate and share The Devil Within wherever you get your podcasts. France, 1994. The Cold War was over. The Berlin Wall had fallen. Europe was healing. NATO was reorganizing. The West was celebrating. But in the pine-covered slopes of the Vosges Mountains, something else was waiting. Not a war, not a man, a beast. And for a moment, just a moment, it seemed like the wolves had returned. Only this time, they walked upright. Late April, near the village of Ventron, nestled in the shadow of the Grand Ballon summit, Jean-Luc Marechal, a lifelong rancher, woke before dawn. He was used to animal sounds. He knew the difference between mating calls and distress. But this night was different. He heard screaming. Not human, but close. Panicked, staccato wails echoing from his paddock. He ran outside, shotgun in hand. What he found would mark him forever. 3 cows lay dead in the pasture, not just killed, opened, slit along the belly like surgical patients, eyes gone, throats torn. But there was no blood, no prints, no sign of a predator having fed. Veterinarians couldn't explain it. No bite marks consistent with known animals. No scavenger behavior. The wounds were too clean, too intentional. The press jumped on the story. They called it the Butcher of Vosges. But Jean-Luc had a different word. Demon. Within weeks, other ranchers reported similar findings. Goats, sheep, deer, even a prized hunting dog found gutted and posed like a trophy. Then came the sightings. A local hiker claimed to see a figure darting between trees, man-sized, but moving too fast, too fluid. Another described it as half man, half carcass. Emaciated, bone-thin, with tattered camouflage and pale, reflective eyes. Some said it wore a gas mask. Others said it had no face at all. Whatever it was, it left no prints and no scent, only the aftermath. The locals began whispering its name, the Beast Man. The police said it was a hoax or a prank, maybe a rogue poacher. But then the military got involved. And by midsummer, reports had reached the Ministry of Defense. A covert operation was launched under the name Operation Wolf Cub. 5 scouts from the 1st Marine Infantry Parachute Regiment were sent into the Vosges. Their orders? Locate, track, contain. What they found was stranger than any fiction they could have imagined. Animal carcasses, but no signs of struggle. Bones picked clean with surgical precision. Tents abandoned in perfect condition. Campfires long dead, surrounded by strange symbols carved into stones. Then, deep in a forest glade, they found it. A totem, carved from animal bones, shaped like a wolf mid-snarl, nailed to a pine tree with rusted railroad spikes. No fingerprints, no trail. But near it, one piece of evidence. A single footprint. 5 toes, human in shape, but twice the size of a man's foot. Oh, and it had claws. That autumn, a strange man was seen wandering near Busang, disheveled and rail-thin, clothed in camouflage so tattered it barely held together. He was digging through garbage and sleeping in gutters. Locals assumed he was a vagrant, but when detained by police, he spoke in short, coded phrases, military jargon, NATO battle commands from the early 1980s, snippets of German and even some English. But he had no ID, and his fingerprints weren't in the national database. Eventually, an intelligence officer speculated that he was a Cold War remnant, a deserter, a soldier who'd never come home, broken by war, and living feral. When asked his name, he gave a chilling reply. I have no name. I only follow the wolf. He was institutionalized and vanished 6 days later. By 1995, the attacks had stopped. No arrests, no bodies, and no explanations, only silence. But every few years, some campers will vanish. Trails wash out unexpectedly. Wildlife officers report finding animal remains, ripped open, organs gone, bones arranged in spiral patterns. Locals keep their own map of the woods, not the official one, a map of danger zones, of paths not to walk alone, and of sounds that don't belong. Jean-Luc sold his ranch in 1996, said he couldn't stand the quiet anymore. Because sometimes in the early dawn, something walks through the fog, and it remembers hunger. The Butcher of Vosges lives on. In French online forums, he's become a myth, a cryptid, a cautionary tale. Paranormal podcasts speculate he was part of a failed military experiment. Reddit threads compare him to American legends like the Wendigo. Some call him the French Skinwalker. But others say he was always human. That when man is abandoned by civilization, when he lives on fear and roots, when he learns to smell blood before rain, he becomes something else. The forest doesn't care about medals. It only respects the hunt. And the Vosges remembers. They say the beast man still roams, wrapped in moss, masked in bark, watching and waiting. Thanks for listening to The Devil Within. If you've ever walked the streets of Paris and felt something watching, or heard a howl in the woods, or even in the heart of the city, email us at info@evocreative.com, follow us on Instagram @The Devil Within Pod, and leave us a review if you believe the beast still lingers just beneath the surface. Until next time, stay safe out there. The Devil Within, The Beasts of France is an EVO production, recorded live at Bel Air Studios in Los Angeles, California. For The Devil Within, I'm Brandon Morgan, your writer and host.